Hey guys, this is our last recording, the very end of the book, Amina's Voice. It's going to be chapters 24 and 25. Both are fairly short, so I can do them together. Let's find out how this ends. The room is cavernous, with high, slanted ceilings and exposed wooden beams that give me the feeling of being in a giant barn. At one end is a small stage with colorful handmade quilts hanging on either side of a giant gold cross. The stage holds a podium with two big potted trees on either side of it and a large bouquet of pink and white roses in front. A line of tall windows directs rectangular beams of light into the polished and shiny pews. I inhale deeply, trying to appear calm, even though my heart thumps wildly as I walk up the steps to the stage, where Imam Malik is standing. He gives me an encouraging nod and steps to the side of the podium, allowing me to take my place behind it. The microphone on the podium is a little too high for me to speak into, so I adjust it just below my mouth. Don't forget to breathe. And then I find the courage to take a peek into the huge crowd seated in front of me. The room is packed with faces, most of them familiar. My parents, Mustapha and Thayajan, are sitting with Rabia's family on one side of the room. Behind them sits Sister Naima and her family. In front of them are smiling Sujin and the rest of the Park family. Next to Sujin, I see Emily and Mr. and Mrs. Heller. I smile and unfold a piece of paper with the words I had typed out earlier and try to ignore the trembling in my hands. When my brain manages to command my hands to stay still, my leg starts to quiver, but at least it's hidden from view behind the podium. You can do this. Relax. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Amina Kokar. I'm going to recite Surah Fatiha for you today. I begin. But first, I want to thank my friend Sujin Park and her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Park, for generously arranging to have our Quran competition here at the Milwaukee Central Presbyterian Church. Everyone claps and cheers for the Parks, and Mr. and Mrs. Park bow their heads. It was only 2 weeks earlier that I came up with the idea of hosting the competition at the church Sujin's family attends. Sujin thought it was a great plan, and we asked her parents, who are on the steering committee of the church, for their help. The committee overwhelmingly agreed and even pitched in to the college fund for the winner. Imam Malik happily accepted the offer to host the competition. Then they decided to open up the lawn for the Interfaith carnival and raise funds for rebuilding. Even with Mr. Heller leading the efforts to rebuild the mosque and community center, it was going to be months before it would open. My school championed the carnival planning, led by Ms. Holly, who formed committees of students and volunteers from a local synagogue and Emily's church. She also got a music school to set up a stage outside, where our band and chorus would hold a winter concert dress rehearsal. Always take any chance you get to perform in front of an audience, Ms. Holly told our class. And now, just a couple of weeks later, everything came together and was finally happening on a beautiful, cool, sunny November afternoon. I don't recognize my own voice as it echoes through the speakers. I'm the first of 15 students competing, since each participating Islamic school program entered 5 top contestants. At home a week earlier, I finally confided to the imam about how panicked I was about speaking in front of a crowd. Does this have something to do with John Hancock? He said with a small smile. Yeah, what should I do? How about if you go first? Imam Malik suggested. What? First? How does that help? You won't have to sit through the other students speaking, he explained. Then he encouraged me to recite the opening verses of the Quran. Not only is it the first passage that I learned as a child, but since I utter them in every prayer, it makes it less likely that I'll freeze and forget my lines. You know, I still get really nervous every time I speak in front of an audience, Imam Malik confessed. You? But you do it all the time. I was shocked. The imam delivers the weekly Friday sermon, speaks every Sunday, and gives lectures regularly. He always seems so relaxed standing in front of a group, like it's one of his favorite things to do. I know, Imam Malik explained, but even still, every time before I start to talk, my palms sweat and my nerves kick in. I've just learned to ignore it and to push through, because once I start speaking, I realize that it's going to be okay. My throat starts to dry up as I stand on the stage and study everyone who has come together to help my community. Just push through, like Imam said. I wait for the applause for the parts to die down and continue to speak. Surah Fatiha, I start, the opening. And then I recite the words I learned as soon as I could put sentences together. Even though I've said them thousands of times in my life, over the past week I worked with Dayajan to focus on the sounds of each letter with the rules of Quranic pronunciation. I stare at the Arabic letters on the page, imagining them as musical notes in my piano book. My voice is like the keys, following the instructions of the letters, vowels, and other signals on the page. In this way, with my vocal cords as my instrument, I glide through the verses, wavering slightly at first, but getting stronger as I continue. As I speak, I think of the meaning of the words that praise God for his gifts and protection and seek his guidance to overcome every difficulty. Amin. I finish and quickly hurry off the stage, through the applause, back to my seat between Sujeen and Emily. I spot Miss Holly in a rear pew, and she gives me a big OK sign. Good job, Emily whispers. Her eyes are shining. That sounded amazing. I smile at her, surprised by how easy it is to think of Emily as a friend already. The day after the community meeting, when Mr. Heller came to make his fantastic offer of support, I went into school early and found Emily in the gym before the bell rang. I didn't even have to deliver the long apology I'd practiced at home. Emily saw me and, like Sujeen, gave me a hug and said how sad she was about what happened at the Islamic Center. She didn't even want to talk about Justin or Bradley or how sorry I was for blurting out her secret. That was history. I still felt guilty for what I had done, but promised myself that I would never betray a friend's trust again. The next contestant was a tiny boy, hardly 7 or 8 years old, with a neat bow tie and hair that hangs over his eyes. He walks confidently to the stage. As he recites a short surah, I'm jarred by the power of his voice. He takes a deep bow when he's done, and then it's Mustapha's turn. My brother is dressed the nicest I've seen him in a long time, looking sharp in tan slacks and a maroon button-down shirt. His hair is gelled in his messy style, and he's freshly shaved. I hear some girls whispering and wonder if they're talking about how cute he is. Mustapha is reciting a passage of the Quran that I don't know. He's kept his promise to the Imam and, after he was caught skipping Sunday school, has been taking his participation in the competition more seriously. And he's been working with Dayajan many nights long after I go to bed. What I don't expect is how much Mustapha sounds like a younger version of our uncle. His voice rings clear and steady, filling the church with lyrical notes and giving me goosebumps. A few moments after he starts speaking, I realize my jaw has dropped and my mouth is actually open. I don't want to make him laugh and quickly shut it as he continues to masterfully glide through the verses. His face is serene, and he only glances at the open book in front of him occasionally. My brother never sings around me, ever, and even though he bought a used acoustic guitar last year, it's more for decoration and to act cool while strumming a chord than anything else. I've always assumed I'm the only one with musical talent between us, but I'm wrong. Mashallah, Baba whispers in the pew behind me, uttering the word used to praise in God's name. I recognize the concluding phrases of Mustapha's passage that refer to forgiveness and God's mercy. And then he finishes and bows slightly while the room bursts into thunderous applause. I join in, clapping the loudest. I'd hate to be the one going next. The last contestant is a 13-year-old girl from Sheboygan who is also really good as she recites the final version of the Quran. And then everyone waits for the judges from each of the participating schools to decide the winners. The room pulses with nervous energy. Finally, Finally, Imam Malik runs back up to the stage, looking flustered and excited at once. He announces the third and second place winners, two students from the other schools, a tall girl with braces and the bow tie boy with the big voice. When it's time to announce the first place winner, I hold my breath as the Imam says, and the winner is our very own Mustapha Kokar. I turn around in my seat and see Baba clap Mustapha on the shoulder as my brother looks up, genuinely stunned. I grin at him, and his face slowly spreads into a wide smile as he realizes what's happened. With a wink for me, he walks up to the stage, shaking his head like he can't quite believe it. My heart swells with pride as I watch Mustapha shake Imam Malik's hand and accept a big gold trophy with an open book on top. Next, he takes the theme park tickets, holding up the envelope and ducking his head as he says thank you into the microphone. But then, as Imam Malik hands him the college money, Mustapha leans into the microphone again. I'd like to donate part of this to help set up a little kids basketball league at the Islamic Center when it opens, he says, and the room erupts into cheers. His cheeks turn redder as he continues to speak quickly, waving his hands to settle everyone down. We'll use it to buy equipment, he says. I'm sure some of my friends from the Greendale team will help me coach. My brother looks more confident and sure of himself with every word he says. I'm certain he and his team are going to be a huge success. Chapter 25, the final chapter. Go on, give it your best shot. You can't. Splash! A small seat he's perched on gives way, and Imam Malik falls into the water. He comes up, sputtering and shivering, even though he's wearing a wetsuit and scuba goggles, while Sammy dances around him and trash talks. Oh yeah, he cackles. I got you. The Imam is so great. Sujin laughs from where she stands next to Rabia and Dahlia. Yeah, you're so lucky that you're part of such an amazing community, Emily adds. So are you guys, I say, as I look around at all the different people from their churches who have gathered together. The carnival is spread out across the expansive church lawn, and parents and friends work at a dozen booths. Justin and his mom are running the beanbag toss. I spot Bradley handing out prizes for a basketball shooting game. Mustapha and Yusuf are standing next to Baba, all three chowing on bulgogi piled high on paper plates at the Park Avenue Deli is supplying through the park's new food truck. Mr. Park's two assistants are having trouble keeping up with the line. The food section has the usual vendors selling samosas and kebab rolls, and a big cotton candy machine. A few parents stand behind a long table and sell homemade baked goods, including Emily's mom, who passes out her peanut butter cookies. I catch Daya John, who has passed on a kebab roll, sinking his teeth into a jumbo cheeseburger. Mustapha finally managed to win him over to American food, and the two have shared a couple of late-night pizzas over the past few weeks. Daya John rushed over to us with Mama and Baba after the Quran competition program was over and hugged us both tightly. I'm so proud of you. His eyes crinkled around the edges more than usual. Did you two remember to thank Daya John for all of his hard work with you? Baba asked quickly. No need, Daya John said. I've learned as much from them as they have from me. He put his arm around Baba. You both have done an excellent job raising these children, he added. I watched my father stand taller from the praise and knew how much it meant to him. The big stage is set up across from the food vendors, where the Greendale High School Jazz Band fills the air with classic tunes. I recognize one of Mustapha's friends playing the alto saxophone and a boy from his basketball team strumming the bass guitar. Miss Holly is standing to the side, talking to the high school band teacher. The sixth graders are going to do the Blast from the Past rehearsal next. I can pick out the band and chorus members spread out around the lawn in their various forms of black pants and white shirts. Justin showed up wearing black track pants and a white sweatshirt that is already covered with grass stains. Come on, Sujin pulls my hand. The line for the bounce house isn't long right now. Let's go get in before it's time for the rehearsal. I motion to Emily, Rabia, and Dahlia, and we all run over to the giant inflated castle. I stop thinking while my friends kick off their shoes. Go ahead without me. I'll be right back. And then I run over to where Miss Holly is standing and whisper in her ear. Miss Holly nods enthusiastically. I run back to the bounce house and dive in, feeling lighter than I have in weeks as I jump. Sujin leaps and twirls and does a cartwheel. Rabia tries to do splits and ends up falling on me, knocking me over. I think it's time, Emily strains to hear the announcement over the whir of the air pump. We'd better go back. I have to get my clarinet. She slides out of the castle, smooths her white sweater dress over her leggings, and adjusts her headband. Sujin slips her black ballet flats back on and looks at me. What's the matter? Are you nervous about playing the piano in front of everyone? She asks. No, I think I'll be okay. I've practiced enough to play the songs in my sleep. We walk up to the stage as Miss Holly introduces the grade and explains the program to the crowd. I climb onto the stage and settle onto the piano bench, feeling instantly relaxed as my fingers rest on the keys. On Miss Holly's signal, I launch into the medley of songs and the chorus sings along. As I start the 1960s songs, I wonder if Baba is humming along, too. When I'm halfway through the 1970s portion, Miss Holly slips onto the bench beside me and starts to play, and I quickly stand up. I walk to the center of the stage, lift the microphone off the stand, and raise it to my lips. I look out into the audience, but it is a blur of faces. Instead, I focus on the cool breeze on my face and on the bright blue sky where I train my eyes on a cloud. As Miss Holly hits the starting note, I ignore the trembling in my leg, find my voice, and hear myself softly and clearly sing the words to my very first solo. I was born by the river in a little tent. There's a smattering of applause and cheering. I take a deep breath and continue a little louder. And just like that river, I've been running ever since. My legs are steadier now, and I start to sway slightly to the music. It's been a long time coming. I begin to recognize faces in the audience. I find Mama, Baba, Mustapha, and Thayajan all smiling, and Rabia whistling like crazy. And then suddenly, filled with happiness, I belt out the words I know are true with all my might. But I know a change gonna come. Oh yes, it will. And I'm ready for it. The end. I hope you enjoyed this book as much as I did. I thought it was an awesome book. I really enjoyed it. Remember to check out my discussion board questions about it on my PowerSchool page. Go on and answer some of those. Please send me if you're doing anything interesting to go along with reading this book. Please send me videos, send me pictures, or send them to Dr. H and he'll get them to me as well. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Bye.